Americans die younger in states with more conservative policies, while states with more liberal policies are associated with lower mortality rates, according to a new study published Wednesday in the scientific journal PLOS One. Researchers analyzed mortality rates for all causes of death in all 50 states from 1999 to 2019 among adults aged 25 to 64. They compared that to state data on policy measures such as gun safety, labor, marijuana policy, economic taxes, and tobacco taxes. According to their simulation, if all states had switched to fully liberal policies, then 171 and 30 lives 171,030 lives would have been saved in 2019. If all states had switched to fully conservative policies, that could have cost an additional 217,635,000 lives. It's been so long since I did those numbers in school. According to the study, researchers wrote the data is striking because U.S. society is becoming hyper polarized and involves growing policy divergence across states. These tectonic political and policy shifts may have had profound impacts on health and well-being, the authors noted. Currently, Republicans control 46% of states in the U.S., while Democrats control 29%, with 12 states divided between legislators and executive control. The U.S. already rates among the highest mortality rates compared to other developed countries. With an average life expectancy of roughly 78 years, Americans die more than 5 years younger than Japanese people and more than 2 years younger than British people. Mortality rates provide another sobering picture of the early deaths among so many individuals in the United States. Researchers wrote in a new study. Based on rates from 2019, for every 100 babies born in the United States, 2 will not survive to their 30th birthday, 6 will not reach age 50, and 16 will die before they can enjoy retirement at age 65. Researchers have been pushing to better understand why the mortality rate is so much higher in the US through analysis across society to explain the troubling data, including the role of drugs, diseases, and the environments. The new study zooms out to show what's driving the trends in each state on the macro level. More liberal policies, give me a second, my hands get a little tired, such as investing in education, expanding access to healthcare, and expanding gun safety laws, as well as policies discouraging risky behavior through taxes, were associated with lower mortality rates, the study found. The exception to the rule was on marijuana policy, where they found that more conservative marijuana policies were associated with a lower mortality rate. There were some limitations to the study, including that researchers only looked at adults aged 25 to 64, and they did not include all state policies in the data. So I'm not a fan of, I support legalizing marijuana because I've said before I support legalizing all drugs, given that there's a big market for it, and I think the U.S. government screws itself by allowing the black market to just have a monopoly on something that's so valuable to people. Um, so this is a really interesting study, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the actual data as far as like I'm aware of this stuff. I know that a lot of conservative states don't really do a good job of assisting with healthcare, which the U.S. in general doesn't even do that well. But and we talked about before, like a lot of conservatives support getting rid of public schools because they get donations from they want to privatize education. So a lot of the Catholic schools, for example, are able to profit off of that. And gun safety laws they fall under the same issue that any states' rights matter would come under, which is that anytime you pass a law that could do something about them in one state, it's usually screwed over by another state not having a law. So, for example, I'm in California. If I want a gun, it's hard to get one here. You go to Arizona, you go to Nevada, not so much. And then, people will wag their finger and go, California didn't do a good job of protecting its people. But it's like, you're not going to blame the states that have no laws. And whatever, it's just, it's another one of these biases that people have. Um, I'm really kind of surprised that they don't have more data just talking about life expectancy, because we know it's been decreasing. And I try to not get too personal when we talk about the news, because I don't I don't think people just in general care. But I've said before, I really don't picture myself living past maybe like the mid 40s or early 40s. And the reason for that is because there's so many things that go wrong and factors that are just um, not not inclined to get me to believe we're going to have some happy ending or long continuous life. I mean, you look at all these mass shootings, different depressive states I've been in, um, all the smoking that goes along with the, inhaling that. I don't do it, but just people around me. It's like it's it's hard to really just think, oh yes, I'm going to live into my 70s or my 60s. Um, so I don't say that with any kind of confidence. If I'm going to make certain of it, it's just one of those things where I really would not be surprised if I don't make it past that point. Because it seems like a lot of people are not making it past there, and it's whether it's people who've passed away from the virus, again the mass shootings. Um, there's so much stuff. The car accidents, which is another issue that doesn't go as discussed. People get killed in vehicular incidents all the time, which is like it's not one of those like external things that's just out of your control, where the only way you can truly just avoid is just to not drive ever. And even if you don't drive, to still be in the car with someone, you're susceptible to having it happen to you. That's why I said it's also fascinating in how there it seems like there's all of these things that can just get rid of you, right? And they're all lining up and circling around you, and you're lucky if you don't end up dealing with one of them. But there's always the expectation that if you're able to survive the unnatural causes of death, again, like the virus, like a car accident, shooting, there's all the different diseases. I don't even want to go down the list, but I really, I think I'm gonna fall into that same bracket of people that don't make the retirement age and the rest of that stuff, because there's just too much stuff that can kill you. And it used to not be this way. We didn't have mass shootings anywhere near as often 30 or 40 years ago. So I'm just telling the truth. I don't think I'm gonna make it at least past like 40 something. I hope I'm wrong.